We are continuing on with our study in the 23rd Psalm. As we do each week, we're going to read through it. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, class, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And so we talked about the Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. We did a little bit of talk. Last week's class ran a little amok, which is not unusual for this class. And so do you feel like we covered the I shall not want well? I did. Yeah. This is remember, talk back to Andy, right? Right? Do we feel like we covered that all right? What'd you say?
You said C and I said yes.
What'd you say?
C.
C. Okay. So, just remember, right? The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. He provides everything that we need, and He provides everything. He provides everything we need to the point that there should not be really anything that we want, because all we really need in life is what? Is provided, and all we really need is God, and to trust God and to follow God, and that I don't know, guys, that's hard, right? Just as our class last week kind of highlighted, sometimes we don't always feel like that's what's happening, do we? We don't always feel like God is providing or God is giving us what we need. The problem is what we need and what we want tend to be different things. And so when we get into that context, what I want does not always match up to God's will, nor am I willing to do what is necessary to meet God's will in that process. And so He gives us what we need, so I do not want. And one of the things that He gives us, if you take a look at that, it says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And then it talks about what He will provide, or what He does provide. Remember, when we talk through this particular verse, this is an action. These verses talk from an active point of view, not a past tense, not a future tense, but an action happening at the moment. And so when we look at it, what's He do? He makes me lie down. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. What does that mean? Comfort. Do we always know what we need? Right? One commentator made the comment here that said the implication is that a sheep doesn't always know what it needs and what is best for itself, and so needs help from who? The shepherd. The shepherd. Remember, the shepherd is the one that takes care of the sheep, watches out for the sheep, keeps them out of danger, keeps them in areas where they'll be well fed. Most of this area that Jesus was talking about, that this area of the world, the Middle East, what is the climate in the Middle East? For the most part. Say again.
It's dry, desert, hot.
Yeah, it's dry, it's deserty, it's hot. They call it a wilderness. It's just lowly scrub plants. It does not tons of water. There's lots of water, but you really can't drink it because it's all what kind of water? Well, it's the salty water, right? You have several of the lakes that they have. The Dead Sea is so filled with salt that it can't support any life. You can't drink that water. And the water that they have that goes along the edges of the continents and the countries, well, it's salt water. So they don't have a lot of what they need to survive. So what is the shepherd's job? To find that, right? To take them to it, right? If you go back to that, it says He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He knows what I need. Regardless of what I think, regardless of how I feel, regardless of what I see, He knows what I need, and He is going to herd me in such a way to get me there. How does God do that? How does God, right? It says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. What's that say to you?
Sometimes He's going to force you to just take a rest. It's Because he makes me lie down, not he
Right.
shows me somewhere to lie down. He's
Right.
forcing you to sometimes take a rest and just take a breather from all that's going on.
Let's just talk about the design of our physical bodies. Not the shapes, right? Not the heights, not the whatever. Don't be laughing, right? But the physical makeup of our bodies. What happens if you overexert yourself? Do none of you ever overexert yourself? I just always sit there, Andy, I'm just so... Y'all ever overexert yourself? You're going to have to lie down. You're going to have to take a break. What happens if you get, right, one of the things I deal with people is anxiety, stress, and depression. What happens if you get overwhelmed by the anxieties or the stressors or the depressions of life? You shut down. Your whole body goes, nope, no thank you. And what do you end up having to do? You have to take a break, don't you? Do you think it's by accident that our bodies are designed that way? Anybody push themselves and push themselves and push themselves and push themselves till they get to the point of exhaustion and then they get sick? Anybody ever do that? Right? You get a cold, right? When I used to get cellulitis in my leg because Sherry would pray against me because she was saying I was being bad. And I would get an infection in my leg and I would have to do what?
Lie down.
I'd have to take a break. I'd have to lie down for a little bit. The shepherd knew that I needed to take a break. Our bodies know when we need to take a break. Who designed our bodies? Who created our bodies?
God.
Everybody agree with that? Right? God created us that way so that we don't get to a point. You know, people freak out about panic attacks and all of those things. And listen, if you're in the midst of a panic attack to the point where you pass out, guess what happens at the moment you pass out?
Not panic.
Panic attack's gone.
Panic attack is gone. You relax, you what?
You're not panicking.
You're not panicking anymore. You know why? Because your body has said, I've had enough, and I need a break. And so, bloop, boom, hopefully, you can sit down before you drop. Right? I've had a couple people in my office that have went into a panic attack while we're talking about something. They pass out on the chair, and I just sit there. But you know what happens to their breathing? Slows down. You know what happens to their heart rate? Slows down. You know what happens to the twitching and the shaking and the anxiety feelings? They go away. And then when they wake up, they're tired. Well, how do you feel? Well, I feel better. Because your body knows what it needs. And every now and then, your body will shut itself down. People are like, oh, panic attack, panic attack. Listen, let the panic attack happen. Be done with it. Let it get over with. Let it have a moment and move on. If you learn the panic attack, eventually it'll shrink down to where you know how to control it just a little bit better. I argue if you have panic attacks and you have a high level of anxiety in your life, you're probably never going to get rid of it. You just learn how to manage it in a way. God set our bodies up. The shepherd set our bodies up to take care of us. When we get to the point where we become overwhelmed, eventually our body will just what? Shut down. And it'll say, you need to take a break. Right? Anybody ever had it? Right? Anybody ever had that happen? You just have to take a break. See, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. The shepherd knows what the sheep need. The shepherd takes the sheep to where they need to be, which is a green pasture. Why do they need a green pasture?
Because it's calming.
It's calming. What else?
Safe.
Safe. What else?
It's good for you.
It's good. Why?
Feed you.
Feed you. Right? They don't want to eat dead grass. What kind of grass do they want to eat? Green grass. Right? They take them to where there is sustenance. It will provide what they need, because the very next verse says what? He leads me beside the still waters. Right? We don't take the sheep to a raging river and say, hey, good luck to you, sheepy. What's the shepherd do? The shepherd takes them to a place where they are well fed and is calm, right? He makes me to lie down in green pastures. That's interesting. This is an action right here. He makes me. The shepherd doesn't give the sheep the option to lie down. Right? When David was struggling, when David was having a hard time, God put things before him that would make him stop, would make him take a pause, would make him take a break, would make him relax just a little bit. You ever had those moments come out of nowhere? Oh, okay. Maybe I need to stop for a minute. Right? But he makes me. I sometimes don't have a choice in it, right? It says God doesn't take away your free will, but sometimes he puts us in a situation where we don't have a choice at that moment to do what? To what?
Stop.
Did you say stop? Yes. Sometimes we have to stop. It's for our the betterment of who we are, right? He, God, the shepherd, makes me to lie down in green pastures. Why lie down? That's our action in this, right? He makes me, God puts upon me, He has me do it, but I have to lie down. Why lie down? Relaxes you. What else? Anybody ever said, all I need is a good nap? The whole side of the room said nap, right? Anybody ever done that? Man, all I need to do, you ever been cranky? Raise your hand. How many's cranky right now? Right? I was cranky this morning, wasn't I? Timothy, Victoria posted something on a Facebook thing this morning, and I posted something ugly. And Timothy's like, wow. And I said, yeah, I'm a little cranky this morning. You have to watch out. Right? You ever just been cranky? And you think to yourself, you know what? All I need to do is go lie down in a calming place. I'm going to go lay down in my room. I'm going to chill for a little bit. Sherry, what's one of your favorite things to do?
Just go lay down and relax.
Go lay down, take a nap, and relax. Sometimes you just need to take a break in a calming area. Right? How many of you love a cat nap? 30 to 45 minutes. You get a good hard roll of REM sleep, and you are completely what when you wake up? Say again? Rested. Rejuvenated. Reset. You recover. You might have been the crankiest old person you've ever met in your life before you took a nap, but when you wake up, you're like, right? How many of you raise children? When they get cranky, guess what they're going to go do? Well, you're going to go lay down. At some point, I can't necessarily make you sleep, but you are going to lie down for just a little bit because I am my children's shepherd, right? And I watch them and I watch over them. So he makes me to lie down in green pastures, right? And so when you take a look at it, right, the implication, we don't always know what's best for us. How many of you like that thought? I kind of like to know what's best for me. I kind of like not leaving things to chance in a lot of ways. I don't like to be surprised by things, right? We don't always know what I need, right? The sheep is us, right? So the implication is that I don't always know what I need and what is best for me. And so I need help from the shepherd, the Lord. I need help to understand what it is that I need, right? The shepherd also knew the good places to make his sheep rest. What does that mean? Right? It said, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall know what he makes me to lie down in green pastures. Right? The shepherd also knew the good places to make his sheep rest. What is that for us? Right? We're not literal four-legged bad sheep, right? And so we're not going to go, well, I don't know. You ever laid down in a field of grass? It's pretty cool, right? Grass is cool, maybe. Right? It's relaxing. It's quiet. I think I made this comment weeks and weeks ago when we first started this study session because I can't never do anything quickly. Was that the comic Bloom County that was out in the 70s and 80s? Opus, the penguin, when he got overwhelmed with things, and it would show him watching TV, and he'd click it off, and he'd wander out into the hill, and he'd go lay in a field of daisies. Or dandelions. And he said, I am taking a dandelion break. Laying out in God's creation, looking at the sky, and taking a rest. What are our good places? Because if you remember what the climate was, what is an oasis? Giant ship that floats on the water. Anyway, what is an oasis? It's surrounded by what? Desert. In a sea of nothing, there is a spot where water is present. And what tends to happen around that oasis?
And they have trees and things like that.
Right life will be. And then everything that's in that area tends to flock to that particular oasis. But the shepherds knew where the good places were. They were aware of it. See, what that says is God knows what I need. Yet again, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He knows what I need. And when I become overwhelmed, when I become despondent, when I become anxious, when I become whatever it is, God knows what it is I need to overcome those things. Right? People say all the time, well, God won't give you more than you can handle. I don't believe that. I think we can get more than we can handle, but what does God do?
Helps us handle it.
He gives us the ability and the ways to handle it. While it may be more than we feel we can handle, God then gives us the ability to overcome it. But what's that take from us? Trust and faithfulness. Is that what you said? Trust and faithfulness. What else? Do you believe that God will give you what you need to overcome it? Remember, this is a
Yes.
responding clap. I'll start calling on people. I'm not afraid. If I don't remember your name, don't take it personally. Right? I have trouble with my kids' names. And so, do we believe that God will give us what we need? What is required of us?
To trust in Him.
Trust. Our job is to lie down. What does it mean when we lie down?
Let go and let God.
Let go and let God. That's important. Because God does not force His will upon us. We have to surrender to it. When the sheep lie down, do we suppose they are at their most vulnerable? Right? When you get into a tense situation, fight or flight kicks in, right? Anybody ever had a fight or flight situation where it's either I got to stand and defend or I got to go? Right? What do you tend to do? You're not sitting down in a fight or flight situation. You're like, right? Let's go. Whatever it's going to be, let's duke it or let's run, right? Whatever it's going to be. That sheep, when it lies down, number one, it feels safe. It feels protected. It feels like it's in an area where it does not have to worry about anything in its surrounding. What allows that to happen? We've used the word several times. The sheep trusts the shepherd. So that shepherd gives them the whatever it would be, the signal, right? Because the sheep know the voice, the sounds that the shepherd makes. That shepherd will make a particular sound, and what will those sheep do? Boom. Because they know that the shepherd will not put them in a place of danger. Will not actively choose to put them in that, right? He's going to put me in a place where I will be safe. I then lie down, which puts myself at the mercy of everything around me. That means I 100% trust that the shepherd is going to protect me, is going to watch out for me. I don't have to have my head on a swivel looking for danger. All I got to do is what? Say again?
Lie down.
Lie down. Relax. Rest. Take it easy. Right? For anybody who's in the military, they talk about trusting their squad or troop. If they didn't trust the person that was on watch, they would not be able to sleep. But the troop, they become such an ingrained and enmeshed group of people that they know they can take a nap when this person is on watch because they will be safe. We can lie down in green pastures in a comforting spot, in a providing spot, because God takes care of us. Do we believe that? What are your thoughts on this?
We want to help him too much.
We want to help him too much. What does that mean? I love that statement.
We want to fix it ourselves.
Well, God, how many of you ever heard, I got this? Right? Right. And then if it gets out of hand, I'll let you kind of step in every now and then. When it gets to the things that I just can't do, I'll let you handle. I got it. Right? How many of you have had a toddler? I got it. And then they don't got it. And you kind of stand back going, anybody ever done that? If you haven't, you do not pay attention to your children. All right? It's insanity. Right? We want to step in but sometimes we have to let them learn the lesson. But the reason the child is willing to learn the lesson is because they trust that we will always what? Why will a kid jump into a pool that can't swim jump to a parent? Because they what? Trust them. Right? They trust that they will watch out for them, that they will take care of them. They can have the power to, I got this, because they know in the background over here is somebody watching their six, always keeping an eye on them, always watching out for them. But what we want to do, as Miss Ann says, is I got this. God, I'm gonna take you, God, and I'm gonna put you up here on this shelf. I'm gonna leave you there. And you look really pretty, and you come in a nice leather band, but I'm not gonna pull you down unless something gets out of control, and then all of a sudden I remember that I have a faith. Is that what the sheep do? What do you think? What are your thoughts? What else? What else does this say to you?
Total surrender.
Total surrender. What's that look like? How many don't even like the word surrender? What do you think?
You could say submission.
Total submission. All right. How many like the word submission? Ladies, submit to your husbands. How many of you like that word? Husband raised his hand. He like, how's that working out for you, Jeremy? My mother-in-law said one time, she's just always bowing down to you. And I was like, you need to be here one of those days when she's bowing down. Right? Because submission is not what we think it is in the marriage. But when it says be submissive, or what was the other word? Surrender. That's really what that is. When I choose to submit to God through the blood of Jesus Christ, I give up what? Everything. I give up my independence. I become an indwelling of that Holy Spirit, which means my body becomes a vessel of God, which means I no longer have choice what I'm going to do with that vessel. That's not easy for a creation that is designed on being self-determinate. And that's hard. What else?
Well, the older I get, the easier, or not the easier, but the more I want those decisions made by somebody else. So, totally surrender to God sounds like a very good concept. Not something I can do all the time. Not something I do well. But
what do we think as we get older that gets more appealing?
we figure out that my way is disastrous. Sometimes. Most of them.
Anybody else learn that? Dude, nothing I do turns out well. Really? You figured that would have turned out well. And it comes back to something I wrote on the board last week is, right, how could God not want this? Situation, choice, right? How could God not want that? It just makes so much sense to me that this is what's best for me. This is what's best for everybody involved, and this is what's best for whatever. But how could God not want that? We are not able to rationalize that. Right? And when it comes to the point where we get to a point in life where we realize that we are the most ignorant fools on the planet, and the only thing we have is our ability to submit and or surrender to God. Anybody ever thought this? Don't raise your hand. That's more rhetorical than anything else. That's an internal yes or no. All right? How could God not want this? You know how often I hear that in my counseling office? How could God not want this too? X, Y, or Z. How could God not make this happen? How could God not? How could God not? And then we get to this point where we get really frustrated because God is not doing things the way we want Him to do it. And we get angry. Anybody ever been angry? Anybody ever been angry at God? If you've not, you're not living your life right. Because there are things about following God that should frustrate us. Say again?
Said frustrate, yes.
Yes.
Get mad, maybe not so.
Frustrate. Some people present frustration in different ways. Right? Some people just get outright angry. They get mad. I've been mad. I've argued with God. You ever argued with God? Right? But God, regardless of what it is, He's going to make me to lie down in one way or the other. Because God eventually will overcome my anger, my frustration, whatever it is I happen to have. Yes?
I think in these situations we have to realize too, if there's something that we really think is best for us and God doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
Satan's involved.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a very subtle way of saying, hey, this is really good.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know what he's doing. You do.
Mm-hmm.
And he's usually the one that's behind it. So if
Mhm.
we can remember to say, Satan, go away.
You know, the thing about, not the best part, but the thing about that is Satan can make things look really, really godly.
But he can't.
Right? Satan has an ability, something called the false angel of light. If you've never read on it, look it up. It's a very interesting concept of how Satan uses things that we really think should be good, should be positive, should be beneficial, should increase our faith in God, ends up using it to the point where it goes against us. I'm going to tell you right now, ministers get caught up in that false angel of light a lot. Because they find that they end up sacrificing their families and everything else in the world for their ministry, because the ministry has turned into a false angel of light. If I do this, and if I do this, and if I do this, and if I do this, it'll just be better and better and better, to the point of it sucks them dry and they lose everything that God has given him on this planet, and they sacrifice it upon the altar of saying, I'm serving God. But then what's it do? Destroys them. Anybody know any ministers that have gotten divorced? That's what that is. I've known several highly notable, thank you, notable ministers, their wives have left them. Why? They were neglected. They ended up putting everything they were into that, right? But how could God not want that? How could God not want me to devote and devote and devote and devote? Why does Paul say it's better to not be married? Because you can then what? Devote your life to the ministry. But if you can't keep yourself pure, then you need to get married and you stay pure within that marital concept. And then what becomes one of your primary responsibilities? Say again? To the spouse and to the family. Right? But once we learn that we are safe enough to lie down in the green pastures where God has taken us to comfort us, to take care of us, to make us safe, right? And then he goes into the very next section of that and he says he leads me beside the still waters, right? He puts us where there is sustenance and peace. Has anybody ever felt that? The world has been a chaotic nightmare of disaster until you surrender or submit to God. And then what happens?
Complete.
Say again?
Completeness.
Completeness. What else? Am I the only one that's experienced that?
Peace, I guess.
Peace? Am I talking crazy? Has nobody else ever felt that? That peace that you get from full submission to God?
Have a relationship with him.
Say again?
Have a relationship with him.
Have a relationship. You know, the interesting thing, I think what Jeremy said is true. We learn that as we what? As we get older. It's a very powerful part, a very powerful thought. Right? The shepherd knows where we need to rest, and the shepherd knows when we need to rest. And he will provide that if we just trust and submit to his will. All right, I know that there's a meeting after class, and so I'm going to go ahead and call to a close. Thank you all for your comments. Thank you for your time. Next week, we'll talk a little bit more about the leads me beside still waters, and then we'll move on to He restores my soul. Thank you all.